What's up, sisters? This is your boy, Beef, and welcome back to the channel for another Baldur's Gate 3 modded build guide. I hope y'all are having an absolutely fantastic day, because today we are granting Gale the power of the cosmos, turning him from our favorite wizard into a spell-slinging master of the universe. To do that, we're going to be using the Cosmic Sorcery mod, available through the in-game mod manager. This mod by CamTheLitFam adds a unique celestial-themed sorcerer subclass, which focuses on harnessing the powers of the astral plane to deal massive damage to our enemies, with a ton of powerful new custom spells like Time Stop, Increased Gravity, Cosmic Ray, and even a Comet spell. Admittedly, this class is not very balanced, but that's kind of on purpose. The best part is, we even have a somewhat reasonable lore explanation to justify how powerful Gale is going to be with this subclass mod. Quick spoiler warning for those who haven't completed the game with Gale in their party. You have been warned. Skip to the timestamp ahead right now if you don't want to avoid spoilers. Or if you want to avoid the spoilers. You know what I mean. Skip ahead now. So, if you've played either Gale Origin Run or you've had him on your team, you know that when he first identifies the Crown of Karsus sitting on the Elder Brain's head, he wants it for himself. Eventually, Mystra, the goddess of magic herself, will task Gale with retrieving the crown and returning it to her because it's too powerful to be in mortal hands. The only problem with this is that we just did some independent research at Sorcerer's Sundries and found out that the Crown of Karsus will let Gale use the Orb of Karsite Weave that's tucked away inside his chest to ascend to literal godhood. Depending on your choices at the end of the game, Gale can return in the epilogue with his new fully ascended form as the god of ambition. One of the worst parts about this is that, well, we never actually get to play as him. We never get to wield the power of a god for ourselves. But today, with this modded subclass, we're going to be building ourselves a playable version of Gale, the god of ambition. But now that we have spoilers out of the way, let's start building out this subclass. So, starting off at level 1, we're grabbing the Sorcerer class, obviously, with this character. With this subclass, we can largely choose whatever spells we want. Each of our unique cosmic theme spells will get added to our spellbook at predetermined levels, regardless of what spells we take on level up. These cosmic theme spells are going to be powerful enough to take up pretty much all of your damage and also a good chunk of your utility, so most of our cantrip and spell choices are going to keep that in mind. Because of that, we're going to start with 4 really great support spells, being Blade Ward, Light, Mage Hand, and Minor Illusion. These are just going to help us kind of maintain a good support role, because all of our spells are otherwise going to be doing a ton of damage. So we want to have something that we can do outside of combat besides just sling massive spells for damage. So for our spells, we are going to start with pretty much whatever you want in this instance. My suggestions are going to be Shield and Chaos Bolt. Chaos Bolt is available through Mystra's spells. Chaos Bolt hurls a chaotic bolt of energy infused with a random damage type. So I think this is really cool because it kind of plays into the whole like Gale figuring out his godhood, and maybe he does a Chaos Bolt and he doesn't entirely know what damage type it's going to be. It could be electric, it could be thunder, it could be fire, it could be necrotic. You know, there's really, and it could have, they have really unique kind of interpretations there. I'll show you how it works later, and it's really cool actually. And I'm also going to take the Shield spell, because this one is just an awesome spell that'll boost your AC as a reaction, so you can force a miss if you need to. Raise your arm class by 5. Take no damage from magic missile. Boom. Easy. Like I said before, we're going to take the Cosmic Sorcery subclass, because what we're going to get here is our first cantrip, which does 2 to 10 damage. It does 1d6 fire and 1d4 force damage. This is kind of like your version of Eldritch Blast, but it also does fire damage because space is full of fire. Lots of stars and stuff. And then we're going to get Witness Infinity, which does 2d10 psychic damage, forces target to witness an infinite well of potential timelines. This is kind of the spell where you just like look at someone and they witness infinity. It's like they suddenly perceive the nature of the universe and they go, and it hurts them so much that they take 2d10 psychic damage. So it's a really fun kind of like interesting spell to think about from an RP perspective. For our ability scores, we are a sorcerer after all, so charisma is our primary statistic. We're going to take a 16 with a +2 and a 16 with a +1 also in dexterity for the added armor class and initiative boosts. We're going to take Constitution 14 for saving throws and the HP boost. This class as a sorcerer is also going to get the proficiency in Constitution saving throws, so we're going to be able to maintain that concentration naturally. We don't really need to worry about that much. We're also going for 12 in wisdom core saving throws, and both 8s in strength and intelligence, because we don't really need them that much for this character. This character is a caster first and foremost, so we don't need much in the way of melee focus stats, and intelligence is just not useful for sorcery. As we move on to level 2, our first spell for our subclass is going to be, oddly enough, Create or Destroy Water. This one is going to pair really well with some lightning spells if you wanted to use them that way, or cold spells because the wet combinations. This is just really nice to have. I think it goes with the whole kind of godhood, cosmic, creating and destroying stuff. We're also going to get our new spell of choice, and I am going to be taking Featherfall here, just because we already have a damaging option in the form of our damaging cantrip, which does really great fire damage and force damage, so I'm going to take Featherfall because it's a really great ability to have. You could take something else if you wanted to, like Magic Missile or Mage Armor, or really whatever you want. It's up to you. But I'm going to take Featherfall because it's a really great utility to have. We're also going to get our first 2 meta magic options, and for this, we're going to go with Wind Spell and Careful Spell. Basically, it's just you can do 2 spells at once if you, or you can double a spell. And Careful Spell is going to allow us to spare our allies from our different spells and cause them to succeed the saving throws, which is going to be really great because we're going to be playing with 10 other people in our party. And we have a lot of AoEs that are going to do huge damage. So we are going to want to make sure that we can spare our allies if they're in the thick of it. At level 3, we're going to get another spell and a new meta magic. With Mistress Spells installed, we have a ton of options available to us here and only 1 slot to fill. So we kind of have to pick wisely. I think that Mirror Image is a really great choice here because it's going to help us with our defenses, and this character is a little bit on the squishy side, so it is great to be able to have that defense boost. For our meta magic, we are going to be taking Quicken Spell. This is going to allow us to just cast more spells, and we're going to be able to cast one with a bonus action at the expense of some sorcery points. So we're just going to be able to cast 2 spells on a single turn, which is really awesome to be able to do. Level 3 is also going to grant us access to Misty Step, which is just really cool to have innately. We don't have to do anything to get this. It's just part of the subclass. Awesome. At level 4, we are going to get our first really powerful spell from our subclass. We're going to get Gaseous Form, which normally isn't that powerful of a spell. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But what makes this spell so powerful on this class is that it doesn't cost a spell slot or have a time limit. You can just become a cloud of mist anytime you want. This is great for sneaking into pipes and avoiding damage in combat and just doing pretty much whatever you want. Really awesome ability to have. I can't really say much more than that. We're also going to get a new cantrip, and this time I'm going to take True Strike because it's my favorite. For our chosen spell, we're going to take Scorching Ray because it does really great damage, 66 fire, and this character is pretty heavy into the fire damage with also force damage, so we're going to go ahead and stick with that. You could also pick something here like Blur if you wanted to, just for more defense, or Hold Person if you wanted to get that, and pair it up with anything. You could take any of these Mistress Spell if you wanted to, but I am going to go with Scorching Ray. For our feat, we are going to be taking an ability score improvement to bump our charisma from 16 up to 18. You could take the alert feat if you wanted to for an extra +5 bonus to your initiative, and you can't be surprised. But we are going to be playing this build with a Twilight Cleric, and the Twilight Cleric is going to give us a +3 bonus to our initiative, so we don't really need that +5 very much. The surprise is nice to have, but we're going to be so dominating the action economy that it's not going to matter that much. So when we get to level 5, we're going to get 2 new subclass spells that are really awesome. Increased Gravity is a spell which does 3d8 force damage in an area of effect, knocking enemies prone and slowing their movement. This is a really cool spell because you're effectively increasing the gravity in that area and just kind of slamming your enemies to the ground and making it really hard for them to move. It's really cool. It has a lot of really fun flavor. While Absorb is a spell which does 3d6 necrotic damage and then heals you for the same. Easy. Boom. For our chosen spell, things are going to start getting a little bit messy in here. Once again, we have 1 slot to fill and a whole mess of spells to pick from. This is the unending curse of being a sorcerer, is having a huge spell book and only 1 slot per level. To be fair, you can replace spells, but I'm trying to pick so specifically that we don't want to change any of them away. Ultimately, though, I'm going to be taking Counterspell because it is a classic, and it doesn't gain, and this class doesn't gain anything like it naturally. We don't really need Fireball or anything else from Mistress Spells because we're going to get something else very similar to Fireball, and there's nothing else really down here that's really calling my name yet. So we're going to go ahead and take Counterspell. At level 6, we get a really cool and unique buff spell called Bubble. With this spell, you can apply a sort of bubble shield to either yourself or an ally that will protect them from the damage of 5 attacks. This is like a 3rd level version of the shield spell and works especially great if you use it ahead of expected attacks from enemies. So if you know that something is coming, go ahead and pop it on either your friend or yourself, and boom, protect them from 5 attacks. That's really awesome. Really overpowered almost. For our next chosen spell, I'm going to be taking Psionic Blast. It does 5d8 force damage, unleash a destructive wave of mental power that pushes away all creatures and objects, knocking them prone. I think that's really cool, and doing force damage meshes well with the build, so it's just really cool extra. It's very similar to Thunder Wave, but it does force damage instead in a much larger cone, so really cool. Thunder Wave, you can see here, is 5 meters con save. This one is a dex save and 9 meters. All right, so at level 7, we're going to get some really damn cool spells. First up, we get Comet, which does 5d6 fire and 5d6 force damage. It's like Fireball from space. Even more, we get Solar Flare. It's like Fireball from the sun, 6d8 fire damage. We're also going to get even more Accelerate. Slow you and your allies' perception of time, allowing you to move and react faster than normal 4 turns. Basically, this is the haste effect, but for all of your allies around you within 8 meters. It doesn't trigger lethargy. It doesn't require concentration. It just happens. It does happen. It's limited to once per short rest, but it's super powerful, and it's just really great. It counts a level 4 spell slot, so it is more expensive than haste, but I mean, at what? I mean, really? You could theoretically, as a sorcerer, you could use extended spell and do that for 8 turns. Well, hey, I may have just decided our new meta magic. I'm changing my build right now. We're also going to get Polymorph, which is a really great spell, but it's nothing specifically new. It's just a really great spell to have, Polymorph. For our chosen spell, we continue to have a ton of options, but we have a lot of damaging options already. So for this option, I'm going to go with Greater Invisibility. Greater Visibility is going to turn a creature invisible, attacks against it have disadvantage, and it attacks with advantage. This is a really great utility just to be able to cast on either ourselves or onto anybody else. At level 8, we're going to get another vanilla spell. This time we get Banishment, so we can use our godly powers to send someone temporarily to another dimension. For our chosen spell, I'm going to go with Confusion. This is more just great crowd control for us to use to manipulate our enemies and kind of control the battlefield. For our feat, we're going to take another ability score improvement and cap out our charisma at 20, just so we can max out our rolls and everything like that. As we move on to level 9, we're going to get 2 new abilities. First up, we can now fly. Simple as that. We have a flying speed now. Boom. We also get the spell Telekinesis, but this isn't just any telekinesis. This version of the spell uses a bonus action, so you can use it in addition to your other spells and integrate it as a more crucial part of your build. The spell still takes concentration, so keeping that in mind, we're going to look at non-concentration spells like Cone of Cold, which we're going to take here, actually. Because normally at the other level 5 spells that we could get would be something like Cloud Kill, but that is a concentration spell. Same with Dominate Person, as well as Hold Monster, and Insect Plague, and Telekinesis, but we just got that. So, none of these are really useful for us, but Cone of Cold is really great and pairs well with that Destroy or Create Water that we can use. At level 10, this class becomes kind of insane beyond even the level that we were at before. 2 new actions are available to us at this level called Cosmic Aura and Warp. Warp is a free teleport that takes a bonus action, and you don't even need to see the spot you teleport to. Distort space to teleport yourself to anywhere, whether or not you can see it. Within 50 meters, so basically anywhere on the map that is within the range of like your camera, and you can just do it for free. No spell slot, no nothing, just warp. Boom. You really are a god, I guess. We're also going to get Cosmic Aura. Make all enemies within 20 meters, a huge area, become vulnerable to force damage. Well, wait a minute. All of our spells are doing force damage and fire too, but mostly force. Lucky us. For our cantrips, we're going to take pretty much whatever you want. I'm gonna go with friends here because why not? This is a build where like I always want to take Booming Blade because it's so much fun to have, or Green Flame Blade because it's so much fun to have. But this character doesn't really do much melee, so I don't really want it. For our spell, I'm going to take Big B's Hand. This is a really cool spell that actually allows us to create a magical hand of translucent force that can strike, push, or grapple enemies. It's kind of like Mage Hand on mega steroids because you can call it down and then it does a lot of either force damage as an attack, or it does it as it can grapple the enemies, it can push them, it's really great. It's an awesome summon. And for our meta magic, we are going to be taking that extended spell so that we can do that at 8 turns of stuff, as well as probably using it on additional other things. At level 11, we get even more insanely powerful. We get a new ability called Black Hole, which is free on a bonus action and pulls enemies into its center. It's just like the Illithid power, but kind of better. Summon a black hole that pulls all enemies to its center, slow enemies for 1 turn, deck save, bonus action, no spell slot, just boom, done. Great way to use our bonus action. We're also going to get Globe of Invulnerability, which is an awesome spell to have in our spell book. We don't have to learn it from, from a scroll. Easy. Omniscience is our spell that allows us to tap into the knowledge of the gods to grant us advantage on attacks and saving throws. Impose disadvantage on attacks against us and deal extra damage with attacks. It doesn't say that there in the description, but I pulled it off of the description on the website. And Time Stop is a spell which freezes all enemies within a radius for 3 turns, and they can't do anything. Literally. Literally. For our chosen spell, I'm going to take Macabre Explosion here. This does 4d8 necrotic and 4d8 force damage that allows us to do necrotic energy burst forth from a corpse or undead body. Basically, it allows us to turn undead bodies into bombs. So this is really cool, just fun. And finally, at level 12, we're going to get our capstone spell, Eviscerate. This spell does 30 d10 plus 200 force damage, which equates to anywhere between 230 and 500 damage. Add in the force vulnerability that you get from that cosmic aura, and you've got a 460 to 1000 guaranteed damage nuke at your disposal. Although this spell is extremely powerful, it does come with its drawbacks. As it says here, this will atomize the target along with all of the items it is carrying. So if you use this on a boss, you don't get loot from that boss. If you wanted that loot, you insta-killed them. What do you expect? Also, because you can only cast it once per long rest, it's kind of like you can only do it every so often, and it costs an action and a bonus action. Still insanely powerful though, if you don't care about the loot. And since nothing else can really compare to this level of damage, vanilla spells feel kind of lackluster in comparison. So because of that, I'm going to take the Daylight spell. Why not? If I'm a cosmic sorcerer, why not summon some sunlight? And for our last feat, we are actually going to be taking the Dual Wielder feat. We're going to use this to dual wield some staves and get some absolutely nasty bonuses. It's also going to give us a +1 to our armor class while wielding the staves. Now that we have covered the leveling progression for the Cosmic Sorcerer subclass, let's take a look at what gear is best in slot for this build. Alright, so for this build, we are going to start by wearing the Hood of the Weave. You gain a +2 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. The main thing that you really want to stack up with here is spell save DC and spell attack rolls. That's kind of, as a sorcerer who is really relying on our attack rolls and our spell save DC, that is really the main thing we want to focus on here. All of our gear is going to push us in that direction. We're also going to combine that with the Cloak of the Weave. You gain a +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Once again, everything we can get to get more spell save DC and boost to our spell attack rolls is great. In addition to that, we're going to use the Potent Robe. Your cantrips deal additional damage equal to your charisma modifier. This is going to stack with our cantrip, the Cosmic Ray, 3d6 fire and 3d4 force damage. Boom. We're also going to use the Daredevil Gloves, where it gains a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls. That's going to give you the ability to have your ranged spell attacks are made as melee spell attacks when you are adjacent to a hostile creature. Basically, this is just going to help us out if we get caught in melee range and we need to take a break and also cast a spell. We're just going to be able to not have it be at disadvantage. We are also going to be using the Boots of Genial Striding. The wearer's movement speed is unimpeded by difficult terrain. This is just really great. This build is also going to make use of the Spine Shudder Amulet, which you are going to wear just kind of most of the time during combat, but whenever you need to, you are going to trade in the Spell Crux Amulet to be able to use Arcane Recovery and give yourself back a spell slot, which is basically just going to mean you can cast a level 6 spells and then do another, and then use this to regenerate one and get another one. Really awesome. But regardless, we are going to wear the Spine Shudder Amulet at all times, just normally while we're in combat, because we're going to be making ranged spell attacks pretty much all the time, so we're going to be able to pass that reverberation around pretty frequently. We're not going to push this build too far into the reverberation, just because we don't really need to. For our rings, we're going to be using the Ring of Protection, because as the squishiest class with the lowest armor class, we are going to want to have as many armor class bonuses as we can get, in addition to our spell save DC and everything. So we're going to use this to get an +1 to our armor class and a +1 to our saving throws, in addition to the Sunwalker's Gift, because this class doesn't really get dark vision in any way, so we are going to give us where it can see the dark up to 12 meters. This will really help us out and make it so that we're not struggling in the dark. Using that dual wielder feat, we are going to be wielding Marco Heshgear, the legendary staff, which gives us a +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. It also gives us Arcane Battery, which allows us to use a spell without using a spell slot, which is really awesome. Gives us basically another one of these, another one of Spell Crux Amulets, and the same thing for the Staff of Spell Power, which you can get from the House of Hope. You gain a +1 bonus to spell save DC, and you get another use of Arcane Battery. Really awesome. So now we can cast like 5 or 6 level 6 spells. Really awesome. In addition to casting with our weapon, we have the Kareska's Favor, which is part of the weapon, and is going to enable us to, for this build, because this build uses a lot of fire, we are going to embrace Kareska's Flame to gain the Flame of Wrath, and it'll do your fire spells will deal additional fire damage equal to your efficiency bonus. And because our cosmic spells are doing fire damage, it'll add that fire damage in, which is a really great buff to be able to add to ourselves. But now that we've looked at some of the gear, let's go ahead and show this off in combat and take a look at what he can do. Okay, so we're here, outside Worm's Crossing. How are we going to start? We're going to start by, actually, just because I can, I'm going to show you the warp. Let's do this. So, where do we want to warp to? Let's warp, over here. I definitely can't see this. Let's do it. Oh, look at that. Isn't that fancy? Let's try, warping back. I'm back! Isn't that cool? That's so powerful. So Comet is another really cool spell. What do we have? We have Increased Gravity, Absorb, Gaseous Form. Let's show off Gaseous Form real quick. I'm no longer gripped by Kareska's Flame, but I am a little gaseous ball. I can fly, and I can dismiss it. Ooh, that removed my my Kareska's Favor, so just because I don't care at the moment, I'm gonna short rest so I can reapply it. We're gonna grip ourselves with Kareska's Flame. Let's take a look. Pop ourselves into turn-based mode. And let's get some combat started. Actually, before we do that, I already have the bubble on, but you can see here, protect yourself or your ally inside a magic bubble that absorbs 5 attacks. Boom. Solar Flare. Oh, that's cool. It's in a line. Like Sunbeam. So let's start by doing something. Oh, what should I do? Oh, let's turn-based mode. Let's accelerate. If we had allies, they would also be accelerated, but right now it's just us. That's okay. We have a new action, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our bonus action to make all enemies vulnerable to force damage. Now we're radiating an aura. And now we're gonna throw a comet.
Witnessed assaulting someone. You're headed for the cells.
Yeah, I am. Oh my god, that took a lot of damage from that. Shield. Oh, I didn't even need shield because I got the bubble. Aw. Aw. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Let's use Black Hole. Now they're all slowed. Now they're all close to each other. And let's go ahead and use our comet. Okay, that works. Well, look at all these dead bodies. Let's eviscerate them. Or let's explode them. I don't want to actually do damage to him. That's cool. Wait, what? Did it not? Oh, it's because I have another action. Right. I forgot I was hasted. But now that we have our actual action, let's go ahead and use our eviscerate on him. 384. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. But that just about does it for the Cosmic Sorcerer subclass mod. What did you think of this build? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more modded Baldur's Gate 3 videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.